So over the weekend at UFC 294, Kamaru Usman fought Khamzat Chimaev and lost by majority decision. Chimaev scoring 29-27 on two of the judges' scorecards, and a vast majority of MMA media cards also scored it for Chimaev. However, I want to review the scoring criteria and see if this is the correct decision and find out if the judges scored this fight correctly or if they got it wrong. So when looking at the MMA scoring criteria, I think it's important to note that the scoring criteria does go in numerical order. So effective striking and grappling is the number one thing that we're looking at. So effective strikes, takedowns, submission attempts, and position advancement is the most important thing to look at. However, when both fighters are equal in this, then we move to other criteria such as effective aggression. So attempted strikes or attempted takedowns, fence control time and grappling, and overall position advancement. Then when neither of those are adequate enough, then we go to octagon control, so who's ever keeping center or who is essentially a more dominating presence in the octagon. However, when we use these scoring criteria, when it turns to actually scoring the round, what's important to note is that a 10-8 round is just when a fight is both combatants are by a close margin. So as long as the fight seems close within a round, that is what determines a 10-9 round. However, giving a 10-8 round is when one fighter is clearly more dominant in the round than another. This does not mean that in order to get a 10-8 round that the fighter needs to win all 5 minutes of a round or dominate completely throughout that 5 minutes. I think that's just important to note going forward, that a 10-8 round does not mean that you must win all 5 minutes of the round. When reviewing round number one, I think it's very clear who the winner of this round is. Chimaev scores a takedown in round one and proceeds to completely control the rest of the round going forward from that point. Usman is stuck on the defensive for a vast majority, if not almost the complete full round of round one, with Chimaev being able to land ground and pound throughout, pursue submission attempts, attempt to flatten him out, and completely controls the round, with Usman being stuck completely on the defensive. However, what's important to note is this round is not a 10-7, because in a 10-7, that would warrant a stoppage, which in my opinion, I don't think at any point Usman was at threat of a stoppage, just that he was stuck defending for the majority of the round. I think this is what makes it clear that this round would be scored at 10-8, and I think it is fair to do so in this case, leaving Chimaev, in my opinion, at the end of round one, scoring a 10-8 round over Usman at the end of round one. When reviewing round two is a much slower and closer round, both having to take a much more measured approach to this round because of the energy burnt in round one. Chimaev is able to land a few single shots and actually a strong body kick in the early stages of the round. However, as the round goes on, Usman is able to pick up and land at a much more higher volume, and is also able to land the most significant combination of the round and the most impactful, where he lands a combination that ends in a low kick. Most of the round is pretty close, but neither fighter really pulling completely ahead outside of the damage that Usman is able to land, being a little bit more significant than Chimaev's. However, in the last 40 seconds, Chimaev is able to land a takedown attempt and hold Usman on the ground for the last 40 seconds of the fight. But what's important to note here when it comes to scoring the round is that though Chimaev was able to get the takedown, he didn't land anything significant with the takedown attempt, or after securing the takedown attempt, and wasn't able to actually get full control of the position. So as far as the scoring criteria is concerned, this would be more of a change of position than anything significant, which when scoring the second round, that would, in my opinion, mean that Usman would have won the second round 10-9. Although it was close, Usman had the more meaningful moments and landed the more impactful shots. And yes, Chimaev does get a takedown and lands his own shots throughout the round. None are as significant or as impactful as Usman's. meaning that though it is a close margin, Usman is the winner of that round. I think that's fairly clear. And so the round would go 10-9 to Usman. However, once we go into the third round, this is where things really change. Going into the third round, the action picks up a lot, and Usman, with his much superior cardio over Chimaev, is able to really start to take over the round early, stuffing most of Chimaev's takedown attempts early, making sure that he is landing his own damage afterwards, and landing with a much more consistent level of combinations and landing the much more impactful shots with a much higher frequency. Again, this is where Chimaev, however, for the last half of the round, is able to secure a takedown. But again, what's important to note is that though Chimaev does get a takedown and significant control time, having almost half of the third round, he is not able to actually do much with the takedown. He fails to land significant ground and pound after the takedown and is not able to pursue submissions or get into a further dominant position, meaning that he is unable to secure mount, get a dominant side control. Most of it is pretty unimpactful ground control time in comparison to the damage that Kamaru had landed earlier in the round, which means that even though Chimaev was able to control him for about 2.5 minutes, it doesn't really equal the value that Usman had done with the damage previously in the round. Usman is able to get back to his feet, and for about the last 30 seconds, they just exchange punches till the horn rings. The horn is sounded. But nothing that Chimaev did would be enough, in my opinion, to equalize the damage that he had taken. And that's important because that is the most important thing. Remember that the scoring criteria is in numerical order. So the effective striking and the damage that he took was not outweighed by the takedown and control time that he had accumulated during the round. So I think going into the third round, it's clear that Usman wins this round 10-9 as being the more active fighter, landing at a higher rate and causing the most damage. So in reviewing my final scorecard, I would score this fight as a draw, scoring it 28-28, with Chimaev getting a 10-8 in the first round and Usman winning the next two rounds with a 10-9. This score is actually the same score given by David Letherby, giving Chimaev a 10-8 in the first round and Kamaru the next two by 10-9. So that's my scorecard and what I believe to be the most accurate scorecard based on the active scoring criteria that we have and the way that judges are supposed to be looking over the fights. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, whether I got it right or how you scored the fight yourself. Also, for these videos, I think this is an interesting concept, but if there's a different way that you think it should be formatted or have any opinions on how I can improve these videos going forward, this is more of a test of concept. So if there's any opinions that you have on how I can change it or alter it a little bit to make it a better format, please let me know in the comment sections below. Along with any other fights that you might want to see or have me review in the future, I'll definitely be looking out for it. I want to be able to include actual clips of the fights from the highlights that I'm talking about rather than just doing screenshots, but I'm not sure if I can do that going forward with pay-per-views because of the copyright and distribution. So I'd have to look into that, but that's one way that I want to change it up. But let me know your opinions down below, and thank you all for watching. I appreciate it a lot. Be on the lookout for other content going forward.